A thin silver ship entered Earth's atmosphere, cutting through the clouds like a quiet blade. Most people on the planet never noticed it. It had no ID code, no landing permission, and no welcome waiting below. But inside that small ship, Alira of the Zirani held her daughter close and whispered calm words, even though her own heart was trembling. Alira had once lived on Earth as an exchange envoy. Back then, she had been young, full of curiosity, excitement, and hope. Humans had fascinated her. Their strange jokes, their wild ideas, their loud emotions, their impossible bravery, everything about them had changed how she saw the galaxy. But among all humans, one man had changed her the most. Elias Ward, a stubborn, clever, big-hearted engineer who never gave up. Even when logic said he should. He had saved her during a political disaster years ago. He had shaken her beliefs, showed her the meaning of courage, and taught her something no textbook ever had. That humans could be dangerous and kind at the same time. When she returned home afterward, she expected life to be simple again. It wasn't. Her world fell into fear and division. A dangerous faction rose from the shadows, hunting anyone who supported peace with humans. Alira barely escaped with her daughter, and in the chaos, she realized something heartbreaking. The galaxy was no longer safe for someone like her, or for a child like Leora. And so, with nowhere else to go, she came back to Earth. She hoped Elias was still alive. She hoped he would remember her. But she had no guarantee. The ship shook gently as it landed in a quiet desert far from cities. Dust rose in soft waves. The engines cooled with a tired hiss. The young child, Leora, peeked from behind Alira's arm. Her small hands clutched the fabric of her mother's cloak. Her eyes were wide, bright, soft, and filled with the strange mixture of alien and human traits that made her so unique. "Are we safe, Mama?" Leora asked in a tiny voice. Alira pushed a smile forward, though her stomach was tight with fear. For a moment, yes. Earth is safer than the place we left. But the bad ones will follow? Yes, Alira admitted softly. But we will find someone who can help us before they do. She opened the ship door, and a warm breeze brushed against her face. Earth smelled the same. Dry sand, cool air, faint life everywhere. The wind carried distant noises, birds, machinery, the endless heartbeat of a living planet. She stepped outside, holding her child's hand. This world had once been her second home. And yet, she felt like a stranger. A small hollow device on her wrist lit up. She tried accessing Earth's public records, scanning for the name Elias Ward. The screen blinked with error messages. Some files were missing. Others were sealed. A simple "not found" flashed again and again. Her chest tightened. Elias used to work with Earth's Frontier Engineering Corps, a group that repaired dangerous outposts and supported colonies. He used to be everywhere, helping whoever needed him. But now, it was like his name had been erased. Leora tugged gently at Alira's cloak. "Mama, what if he is gone?" Alira knelt in front of her child and brushed a strand of dark hair behind her small, pointed ear. "Humans are hard to erase," she whispered. "They survive things no one expects. He is out there. I feel it." It wasn't just hope, it was instinct. Elias Ward had never been the type of man who disappeared easily. She pressed a small button on her wrist device. A sphere of light unfolded, projecting a rough map of the frontier regions outside Earth's main cities. She traced her finger along the coordinates of abandoned mining stations, forgotten engineering posts, and remote repair hubs. If Elias was anywhere, it would be far from crowds. He hated politics. He hated attention. He hated being forced into the spotlight. She remembered his voice so clearly. "I fix broken things. I don't attend meetings. Maybe he was still fixing things. Maybe the galaxy hadn't changed him completely. Alira gathered her courage and lifted Leora into her arms. The child rested her head against Alira's shoulder, trusting her without question. "We will find him," Alira said again, more firmly. Before she could take a step toward the nearest settlement, a soft alarm sounded from her ship, a proximity alert. Someone or something was nearby. She froze. The desert was silent, empty, still. Then she saw it. A hover drone approached from the east, floating low and quiet. It bore the emblem of Earth's regional security forces. Alira swallowed hard. Normally, this would be a good sign. But after everything she had been through, the sight of any authority made her uneasy. She activated the universal translator at her throat. When the drone reached speaking distance, it projected a calm, synthetic voice. "Unidentified craft detected. State your name and purpose." Alira kept her hands visible. "I am Alira of the Zhirani, former envoy. I come in peace." The drone scanned her, its blue sensors sweeping over her body, and then over the child hiding against her neck. "No records found matching your claim," the drone replied. Alira stiffened. "What? I lived on Earth. I worked with your diplomatic council. Check again." "Records deleted or inaccessible," the drone said. "Unverified traveler detected. You must follow for proper identification." She shook her head. "I cannot. I need to find someone. Failure to comply will result in—" "Stop," she said sharply. The drone paused, as if confused by her tone. Alira took a deep breath. Running from Earth, authorities would only cause trouble. She had to stay calm. She had to think like Elias once taught her. Humans respect honesty. They don't always follow it, but they respect it. She pointed at her child. "My daughter is in danger. We are being hunted by a faction outside your borders. You cannot detain us. You cannot delay us. We need help, not interrogation." The drone remained silent for a long moment. Then it responded in a different tone, still artificial, but softer. "Noted. You are advised to proceed to the nearest settlement for assistance." It turned and floated away. Alira let out a long breath she didn't know she was holding. Leora whispered, "Mama, I'm scared." "I'm scared too," Alira admitted. "But we will keep moving. Humans helped me before. They will help us again." She secured the ship into camouflage mode. Its shell shimmered and blended with the desert rock. Then she set off on foot toward the nearest outpost, a lonely settlement called Red Ridge, marked on her map. It would take hours to reach, but the path was safe, and the settlement had communication towers. Maybe someone there had information about old engineering teams. Maybe someone knew where Elias went. Maybe she would get her first real lead. The desert sun warmed her skin, and the sky stretched endlessly above her. With each step, she felt the weight of her choice. She had left her world behind. She had crossed stars. She had broken laws she once respected. All to find one human. As they walked, Leora asked gentle questions. "Will he like me?" "Yes." "Will he be kind?" "He always was." "Will he be happy to see you again?" Alira hesitated. Her heart ached softly. "I don't know," she answered honestly. Much time has passed. But she hoped deep in her bones that the spark she remembered still lived inside him. Hours later, when the sun began to set, the silhouette of Red Ridge appeared on the horizon. A cluster of rust-colored buildings, tall antennas, and flickering lights. Alira lifted Leora and whispered, "We are close." And far above them, in the darkening sky, a single silent shape glided across the clouds, too distant to see, but not too distant to watch. A sign that the threat following them was already near. Their time was running out, and they still had not found Elias Ward. Red Ridge Settlement was small, dusty, and worn down by years of harsh desert winds. The buildings were rusty metal boxes, with blinking lights that worked only half the time. The streets were quiet, filled with the soft hum of machines and the distant echo of drilling rigs. People here did not ask questions. They minded their own business and survived with whatever they could repair. For Alira, it felt both familiar and strange. Earth always carried a rough charm. Humans had a way of making even broken places feel alive. She held Leora's hand as they walked into the settlement. The child looked around with big, curious eyes, fascinated by everything humans walking in work gear, cargo drones buzzing overhead, and the smell of cooked food drifting from a small stall nearby. "Mama," Leora whispered. "Are these people safe?" Alira nodded. "Most humans are safe. They may be loud or strange, but they have warm hearts." She didn't say the rest, that humans were also unpredictable, stubborn, and sometimes dangerous without meaning to be. But in this moment, she needed to believe they would help her. They entered a small station that served as Red Ridge's communication hub. The lights flickered, and old screens buzzed quietly. A tired-looking human woman sat behind the desk, tapping on a tablet with more force than necessary. She glanced up and froze when she saw Alira's silver eyes and pointed ears. "Alien visitor?" the woman muttered. "Haven't seen one in a while." Alira bowed politely. "I need information about engineering teams that used to work in frontier zones, especially one led by a man named Elias Ward." The woman frowned. "Elias Ward. But official records are restricted. He wasn't just an engineer. He was involved in some kind of major incident years back. After that, he disappeared." Alira's heart tightened. "Disappeared? Where?" "No one knows," the woman said. "Some say he went off-grid. Others say he was forced into hiding. Frontier folks still talk about him sometimes. They call him the Last Fixer." Alira blinked. "The Last Fixer?" "Yeah. He'd go from broken colony to broken colony, repairing things no one else could fix. Saved a lot of people. Never stayed anywhere long." Alira felt warmth spread in her chest. That sounded exactly like Elias. "Do you know where he was last seen?" she asked. The woman hesitated. "I shouldn't share personal records, but you look desperate." She sighed and opened a private file. "Last unofficial sighting was near an old asteroid mining station called Dusk 47. That's very far from here. Most people don't go there anymore. Dangerous place, barely operational." Alira whispered, "Thank you." As she turned to leave, the woman added, "Hey, be careful. Anyone searching for Elias usually brings trouble." Alira didn't answer. She knew trouble was already following her. She could feel it like a shadow. Outside the hub, the evening sky turned dark purple as stars peeked through. Alira bought a small packet of food for Leora. The child ate quietly, sitting on a dusty bench, kicking her small legs back and forth. When she finished, she looked up. "Mama, who is Elias Ward, really?" Alira sat beside her and took a deep breath. "He is a human who once helped me when no one else would. He saved my life during a crisis. He protected me. He taught me how brave humans can be." Leora tilted her head. "Did you love him?" Alira froze. The wind blew softly across the sand. "Humans express emotions differently," she said carefully. "But yes, he mattered to me." Leora smiled. "Then he will help us." Alira wished it were that simple. They rented a small room in Red Ridge for the night. The walls were thin, the air smelled like machine oil, and the bed creaked loudly. But it was safe enough. Leora fell asleep quickly, curled up against Alira's chest. Alira stayed awake. She stared at the cracked ceiling, thinking about Elias, his laugh, his stubbornness, the way he always said, "There's nothing we can't fix if we try long enough." She hoped he still believed that. She hoped he was still alive. But deep down, she felt something else too. Fear. What if Elias didn't want to see her? What if he had moved on? What if she brought danger to his quiet life? She closed her eyes and whispered, "Please still be the same man I remember." The next morning, she arranged transport off-world. Redridge had a small shuttle port that launched ships to nearby colonies. From there, she could board a larger vessel to reach Dusk 47. When the shuttle lifted off, Leora pressed her face to the window, watching Earth slowly shrink behind them. "It's beautiful," the child whispered. "Yes," Alira said softly. "Humans protect their world fiercely. They fight hard for what they love." "Like you will fight for me?" Leora asked. Alira kissed her forehead. "Always." The shuttle ride took hours. Then they switched to a freighter heading to the mining belt. The ship was old, noisy, and filled with rough workers who barely noticed an alien traveler and her child. One worker, a tall man with grease stains on his arms, sat beside them and grinned. "You look like you're going somewhere dangerous," he said. Alira kept her voice calm. "Just searching for someone." "Out there? Not many people left worth finding." Alira smiled politely. "I believe this one is." The man laughed and leaned back in his seat, unaware of the heavy truth behind her words. The journey through space was long and tiring. Black emptiness stretched around them, broken only by distant stars. Leora slept again, her head on Alira's lap. Alira watched her child breathe softly and felt courage return. She had risked everything to bring Leora to safety. There was no turning back. As the freighter neared the mining belt, asteroids appeared like huge, shadowy mountains drifting silently in space. Metal stations clung to some of them, old, forgotten, and dimly lit. The ship's pilot announced, "Approaching Dusk 47. Don't expect a warm welcome. Most people who live there don't like visitors." Alira thanked him and prepared their small pack. When the freighter docked, the doors opened with a loud clank. Cold air rushed inside. The station smelled like dust, metal, and loneliness. The corridors were dim. Lights flickered. Machines hummed quietly, as if tired. Leora held Alira's hand tightly. "Mama, this place feels sad." Yes," Alira whispered. "But someone here must know where he is." They walked through the station, passing tired workers, malfunctioning robots, and old equipment stacked in corners. Most people didn't look at them. A few glanced with confusion. An alien woman and a small child were not common visitors. At the end of a hallway, they found a repair bay. Sparks flew as someone welded a metal panel. Tools were scattered everywhere. The sound of steady, confident hammering filled the air. Alira's heart began to race. She knew that sound. It was the rhythm of someone who refused to give up. Someone who fixed everything, no matter how broken it seemed. She stepped closer. A man stood with his back to her broad shoulders, dark hair tied back, clothes stained with engine oil. He worked with focus and calm, exactly how she remembered. Leora whispered, "Is that him?" Alira could barely breathe. I think so." The man turned. For a long moment, he simply stared. His eyes widened. The tool in his hand fell to the floor with a sharp clang. "Alira?" he said softly, as if afraid she might vanish. Her throat tightened. "Elias." They stood frozen. Two people separated by years, pain, and worlds. Then his gaze moved to the small girl holding Alira's hand. Leora stared back at him with wide, curious eyes. Is she?" Elias whispered. Alira swallowed hard. "Yes, Elias, this is Leora." Silence filled the room like a heavy blanket. Elias stepped forward slowly, disbelief and amazement mixing in his eyes. Alira felt tears burn at the corner of her eyes. She had crossed stars for this moment, and the journey was only beginning. Elias Ward stood still, staring at the child who clung to Alira's hand. His face carried shock, confusion, and something deeper, something he did not dare to name. Years of isolation, Years of working alone had hardened him. But the sight of Alira brought back memories he thought he had buried. The repair bay hummed quietly around them. Sparks crackled from a half-fixed generator behind Elias. The air smelled of metal and warm machinery. Finally, Elias spoke in a quiet, rough voice. "Alira, why are you here? And why with a child?" Alira stepped closer, her eyes soft but full of worry. "Because I had no one else to trust. Because danger followed me across the stars. And because you were the only human who ever showed me I could be safe." Elias looked at Leora again. She blinked up at him innocently, clutching Alira's cloak. "She looks different," he said softly. Alira nodded. "She is different. She is Zirani. And something more." Elias's eyes widened slightly, but he did not push for details. Instead, he exhaled slowly and rubbed the back of his neck, an old habit. "You shouldn't have come here," he said. "This station isn't safe. Nothing out here is." "Nowhere is safe," Alira replied. "That is why I came to you." Elias felt the weight of those words settle on his shoulders. He had tried to leave the world behind, to fix machines instead of people, to live quietly. But Alira had always been the exception. He sighed. "All right. Tell me everything." Alira explained everything: the rise of the hostile faction on her world, the danger Leora represented, and her long journey back to Earth. She told him how her records were erased, how she was hunted, and how she had no place to go. Elias listened without interrupting. His jaw tightened with every detail. When she finished, silence followed. The only sound was Leora gently swinging her feet, watching both adults with wide eyes. Elias took a deep breath. "So they're after you, and they'll come here next." Alira nodded slowly. "Yes. They want Leora. They believe she carries something important." "What kind of important?" Elias asked. Alira hesitated. "Her DNA contains a genetic key that can stabilize my homeworld's ecosystem. Without her, the world may collapse." Elias stared at the child again. She looked so small, so normal, yet she carried the hope of an entire planet. Leora waved shyly at him. Something inside Elias softened. "Then we protect her," he said firmly. Alira exhaled with relief. "Elias, thank you." "Don't thank me," he replied. Elias returned to the generator he was repairing. His hands moved quickly, almost too fast to follow. Alira watched with quiet admiration. Some things never changed: his skill, his focus, his stubborn confidence. "What are you doing?" she asked. "Getting ready," Elias said. "If they're coming, we need this station on our side." He activated a panel. Lights flickered across the walls as old systems came alive. "This place may be old," Elias continued, "but it still has teeth. Humans built this station during a rough period. They expected trouble." Alira stepped beside him. "But we cannot destroy anyone. We only need to escape." "Escape, yes," Elias said, "but we'll need a head start." He pointed to the ceiling. "There are old defense grids up there. Not lethal, just strong enough to slow down trouble." Alira nodded. "And the power core?" she asked. "Barely alive," Elias admitted. "But I can fix it." She smiled, remembering their past. "You always say that." "And I'm always right," Elias said with a shrug. Leora giggled softly. Elias paused and looked at the child. "Hey, little one. You ever seen a human fix something impossible?" Leora shook her head. "You're about to," he said. They worked together for hours. Elias repaired broken systems, sealed damaged passages, and restored emergency shields. Alira helped carry equipment, access alien-compatible tools, and translate strange signals appearing on her wrist device. The more they worked, the more the station changed. Old lights brightened. Dormant machines hummed awake. Doors unlocked with sharp, metallic clicks. Dusk 47 was turning from a dying structure into a fortress. Leora followed them, watching everything with excitement. She often tugged on Elias's sleeve and asked small questions. What does this do? Why does that spark? Are humans always this messy? Elias laughed. Yes. And don't touch that wire, it bites. Alira watched them with mixed emotions, fear, hope, and something warmer that she tried to hide. Elias caught her looking. Don't worry, he said gently. We'll keep her safe. Alira nodded, though her chest tightened. She knew the danger wasn't far. Her wrist device suddenly beeped. She froze. Elias's expression changed instantly. What is it? Alira checked the screen. A ship? No. Several. They just entered this region of space. Elias clenched his jaw. They found us faster than I hoped. Alira turned pale. We need to prepare the escape path. We won't get far if they arrive before we're ready, Elias said. But I have a plan. He opened a large panel on the wall, revealing a hidden chamber filled with old hardware. Alira blinked. What is all this? A distraction, Elias said. This station has a full network of emergency signals. If we overload the right systems, we can create chaos. Chaos? Alira repeated. Friendly chaos, Elias corrected. The kind humans specialize in. Alira breathed out a soft laugh. I never forgot that. They moved quickly. Elias rerouted power lines. Alira activated remote locks. Together they prepared the whole station for a defensive trick. Leora, Alira called. Stay close. The girl ran to her mother and held her hand tightly. Elias double-checked the controls. All right. When they dock, they'll search the outer halls first. The moment they cross certain points, the systems will activate. Alira frowned. And what will happen? Elias grinned. They'll get lost. Alira blinked. Lost? Humans built this station with rotating corridors. Most people don't know how to navigate them. If I activate the rotation cycles, the halls will shift again and again. They'll waste time trying to reach us. Alira stared at him in surprise. That is brilliant. No, Elias said with a shrug. Minutes later, the entire station shook. Metal groaned. Lights flickered. An alarm buzzed deep within the structure. Alira grabbed Leora protectively. They've docked. Elias checked the monitors. Shadowy figures moved in the corridors. Quiet. Purposeful. Searching. But not for long, he whispered. He hit a switch. The floor vibrated. The walls creaked, and the corridors began to rotate. The intruders turned sharply, confused. They tried to move left, but ended up back where they started. Elias smirked. See? Alira pressed her hand to her chest. Elias, your mind is unlike any other human I know. Thanks, he replied. But we still need to escape before they figure it out. He opened a maintenance hatch. This tunnel leads to the emergency hangar. There's an old shuttle there. I've kept it in working condition. Alira blinked. Because I never know when I'll need to run, Elias said honestly. Leora squeezed her mother's hand. Alira knelt and cupped her daughter's face. Elias peered deeper into the tunnel. Let's move. They won't stay lost forever. Try. They hurried into the narrow passage, lights flickering above them. The station trembled as the intruders forced their way through blocked corridors. Elias moved ahead, guiding them quickly. Alira followed close, holding Leora tight. Behind them, distant shouts echoed sharp and angry. Alira, Elias said without looking back. We're going to make it. She nodded, breathless. I believe you. They reached a large door. Elias entered a code. Inside was a small shuttle, rusty, patched with scrap metal, but humming with energy. Alira sighed in relief. It looks alive. It is, Elias said proudly. Human-made. Tough as always. The ground trembled again. Elias turned serious. Get inside. Now. Alira and Leora climbed aboard. Elias followed, sealing the door behind them. As he prepared the engines, Alira placed a hand on his shoulder. Thank you, she whispered. Elias didn't answer. He simply activated the thrusters. Outside, the station walls shook as intruders finally broke through. Inside, the shuttle roared to life. Elias whispered, "Hold on." And the ship shot forward away from danger, toward the unknown future waiting for them. The shuttle burst out of the mining station with a loud crack of engines, leaving behind sparks and drifting metal dust. Inside, Alira held Leora close while Elias worked fast at the controls, fingers flying over buttons in a blur. "Are they following us?" Alira asked, her voice tight. Elias didn't look away from the screen. Not yet. They're still trapped inside the rotating corridors. But once they break through, they'll be right behind us. Ju-my-lef, Tenjing.com. Leora peered over the seat. "Mama, are we going to be okay?" Alira kissed the top of her child's head. "We will. Humans don't give up." "Ode." Elias smirked softly. "That's the spirit." He pushed the shuttle harder. The small craft shook as it dodged floating rocks and broken mining equipment. The belt of asteroids around them looked like giant shadows, drifting in silence. "We need to reach open space," Elias said. "The station's gravity pockets could slow them down, but once they're out, well, they'll have bigger engines." Alira frowned. "We cannot outrun them?" Elias shrugged. "Maybe for a while. But I didn't fix defense grids just to run forever." Rugged. Alira stared at him. "What do you mean?" Elias didn't answer. Instead, he tapped a screen beside him. A map of the region appeared, a maze of asteroids, abandoned machinery, and old mining tunnels. Leora gasped. "It looks like a broken puzzle." "Exactly," Elias said. "Humans used this area for mining for decades. They left a lot of old machines behind. Dangerous machines." Alira raised an eyebrow. Elias gave a lopsided smile. "A messy one, but it might work." They flew deeper into the asteroid field. The rocks grew larger, drifting slowly like ancient giants. Some had mining towers still attached, rusted and covered in dust. Elias guided the shuttle toward a wide tunnel carved into one of the biggest asteroids. "Elias, what is this place?" Alira asked. "A worksite humans abandoned long ago," he said. "But the machines still respond to power. If you wake them." Alira's eyes widened. "You want to use mining machines to fight an elite team of hunters?" Elias shrugged. "Humans use whatever they have." She felt a familiar warmth in her chest. "You never change." Leora giggled softly. "Mama likes you." Elias coughed and pretended he didn't hear that. Inside the tunnel, they landed the shuttle on a metal platform. The place was dark except for a few flickering lights. Old mining crawlers slept against the walls, huge machines with gripping claws and drilling arms. Alira whispered, "Can these machines really work?" Elias pulled out his tool belt. "If it's human-made, I can wake it up." He walked to the main control panel, wiped dust from it, and began connecting wires. Sparks shot out, and the floor trembled as power flowed through the old metal. Lights snapped on across the tunnel. The mining crawlers moved slightly, like sleeping beasts waking after a long rest. Alira stepped closer to Elias. "If we use these, what will happen to the intruders?" "They won't be harmed," Elias said. "Mining crawlers aren't weapons, but they can block paths, move debris, and create walls." Alira smiled. "A human trick." "A safe one," Elias replied. Leora clapped her hands. "Make them dance." Elias chuckled. "Something like that." The ground suddenly shook. A loud alarm on Alira's wrist device beeped. "They're here," she said, her voice trembling. Elias checked the scanner. Several ships had left the station. They were cutting through the asteroid field with speed and precision. He hit a switch. The mining crawler's eyes glowed red as they powered up. "All right," Elias whispered. "Let's make this place confusing." Metal groaned as the crawlers moved. They pushed boulders into paths, blocked tunnels, and rolled debris into tight corridors. Some of the machines climbed walls, leaving long scars behind. Alira watched with awe. "I never understood how humans create order from chaos, and chaos from order." Elias grinned. "We improvise. It's our greatest strength." The scanners beeped again. "They're close," Elias warned. Alira held Leora tightly. The first enemy ship entered the tunnel sleek, sharp, and fast. Elias hit 2 switches at once. The mining crawlers roared to life. They slid across the floor, blocking the intruders. Drills spun. Claws moved. Metal crashed against metal. The enemy ship swerved sharply to avoid a falling piece of machinery. Alira watched with wide eyes. "They can't get through," she exclaimed. "Not yet," Elias said. "But they'll try. They always do." Behind the first ship, more ships appeared, dark shapes, filled with hostile lights. The crawlers closed the tunnels behind them, trapping the intruders in narrow passages. "They'll try to blast through," Alira said. "And when they do," Elias replied, "the debris will slow them further." The tunnel shook again. "They're starting to break the barriers," Alira warned. Elias nodded. "Good. That means the next part of the plan can start." Leora stared. "There's a next part?" "Always," Elias said. He moved back into the shuttle. Alira followed. "Where are we going?" "To the back of the asteroid," he said. "There's an exit tunnel that leads to open space." Alira frowned. "But if they see us?" "They will," Elias said. "But by then, the last trick will be ready." Alira hesitated. She trusted him, but fear sat heavy in her chest. Still, she nodded. "We follow your lead." The shuttle launched again, flying through a narrow back tunnel. The walls were tight, and the engines screamed in protest. Leora buried her face into Alira's chest. When they burst out of the asteroid, open space surrounded them, dark and endless. Alira looked behind. The enemy ships were emerging too. "Elias," she whispered. "They're catching up." "I know," he said calmly. He pressed a button on the console. A hologram appeared, a map showing dozens of loose asteroids around them. Alira blinked. "What are you doing?" "How do humans win fights without fighting?" Elias asked. Alira frowned. "We move the battlefield," Elias said. He activated a control device he had connected to the crawlers earlier. Deep inside the asteroid, the mining machines began pushing against key structural points. The tunnels cracked. The rock shifted. The entire asteroid trembled. Alira's eyes widened. "Elias, what did you do?" "Gave us a few seconds," he said. The asteroid broke apart. Massive chunks of rock spun into space, creating a storm of debris. The enemy ships were caught inside the chaos. They swerved wildly, struggling to avoid crashing. Alira grabbed Elias's arm. "You could have killed them!" "No," Elias said. "Mining protocols kept the collapse controlled. The debris won't destroy their ships, only slow them down." Alira stared at him with amazement. "Humans always create miracles in the last moments." Elias almost smiled. "We just get creative." We? The scanners blinked. "They're stuck," Elias said. "We have a clear route." "Where do we go?" Alira asked. "Toward Allied space," Elias replied. "Your people still have friends there. And humans do too." Alira touched his hand gently. "Elias, you saved us. Again." He looked at her, his voice soft. "I wasn't going to lose you. Not this time." Leora yawned and leaned on Elias's arm. He blinked in surprise. Alira smiled warmly. She trusts you. Elias's expression softened. Then, I'll protect her. Alira whispered, You already have. As the shuttle sped through the stars, far from danger, Alira placed her hand over Elias's. Will you stay with us? She asked quietly. Elias looked ahead, into the endless galaxy. I think it's time I stop running, he said, and start helping again. Alira's eyes shined. With us? He nodded. With both of you. Leora clapped happily. And so, the three of them, an alien mother, her extraordinary child, and the human who once defied the galaxy, flew toward a new future. A future shaped not by fear, but by courage, family, and the unstoppable spirit of humanity.